speech, Prime Minister Modi announced that India will have a Sudarshan Chakra by 2035. In other words, in 10 years, India will have, according to the Prime Minister, an impregnable shield across its entire airspace, catering for all the aerial threats coming from Pakistan and China. And the threats would be in the form of drones, aircraft, and all the land based missiles with the two countries. Now, this is a big deal. And especially when the Prime Minister makes a statement like this from the ramparts of the Red Fort, it means that this project has been cleared and the funding has been provided. Essentially, what the Prime Minister said in technical terms was that in 10 years, India will have its own indigenous ballistic missile defense system covering the entire airspace of India. And there is no doubt that this idea to the Prime Minister was given by Dr. Vijay Saraswat. Now, Saraswat was the DRDO chief from 2009 to 2013, and at present he is the member Niti Aayog. Now, the high point of Saraswat's 4 years tenure as the DRDO chief was to do an excellent public relation work in popularizing the idea of this indigenous ballistic missile defense system, something that he did not initiate. This system was conceived in 1995 by the then DRDO chief Abdul Kalam, but once Kalam retired, his successors just shelved this project till Saraswat came in the chair and he popularized this project. So, the first point to make is that what the Prime Minister announced from the ramparts of the Red Fort is a technology 30 years old. And in those 30 years, the technology has moved rapidly, and more than that, the PLA today is at the cutting edge of modern warfare. This has to be kept in mind. But coming to Saraswat, as I said, he popularized this. He gave so many interviews to the media that he came to be known as the ballistic missile defense man in the media. Now, he met me also for a very longish interview, rather interaction, in February 2010 in his office in the DRDO complex, where for over 2 hours he painstakingly tried to explain me how this whole project, ballistic missile defense, will happen in two phases. In phase one, he said that the DRDO was looking at the hostile missiles from Pakistan with a maximum range of 2000 kilometers, ballistic missiles. And for this, he said, the interceptors, the missiles which will intercept the hostile missiles, they will be ready by 2011. And the interception of these hostile ballistic missile will be done at two places, one inside the atmosphere and one in space. As many may know that the altitude from ground going up is 100 kilometer is the cutoff line, below 100 kilometer is space, is atmosphere, and over 100 kilometers is space. So this interceptor missiles, he said, the two types, they will be ready by 2011, and by 2013, the year he would retire, he said, the entire system would be operationalized. And the entire system means radars of various types, essentially two types. One is the long range tracking radar to track the hostile targets, and the other is the fire control radar. And along with that, the command and control center. So everything would be operationalized by 2013, according to him. And once he has retired, his successor would take on the phase two of the project, which is looking at hostile missiles with a range of 5,000 kilometers, essentially those coming from China. Now, when you have more range of the ballistic missile, it means the velocity will be more and the altitude will be much more, which means that the tracking radar needs to do the tracking at a bigger length that is required. So even the interception also will have to be more powerful missiles, the interceptor missiles. And he told me that the interception for this 5,000 kilometers will be done in space at an altitude of 200 kilometers, which means, as I said, the cutoff is 100 kilometers. So 100 kilometers inside space altitude is where the interception would be done. And then he also said that as India acquires satellites and it has AWACS systems, airborne systems, then they will help in tracking. because a ground based radar can only track this much. You need the airborne and the satellites to do tracking faster, because after all, the reaction time, say a hostile missile coming from Pakistan to India will be so small that for India the reaction time will be in seconds. So all this he said would be done. But I expressed a lot of apprehensions, technical apprehensions, things that obviously I would not like to discuss now with Saraswat. But Saraswat listened to me, did not pay attention to them, and just put them aside. And as I was expecting, once he retired, this whole project was shelved, and it has now been revived by the Prime Minister himself in his Independence Day speech to the nation and the world. Now, this has happened after Operation Sindoor. What means is that whether this ballistic missile defense system India is able to create or not, Pakistan and China will have to take the countermeasures. They will not take a chance. China also will not take a chance, because China, we saw in Operation Sindoor, provided all the support to Pakistan, and China has repeatedly said it supports Pakistan's security and sovereignty, and hence it will not see its credibility in the international arena be dented. That will not happen. So, what I am saying is that China will help Pakistan with more technology, and Pakistan will be looking at more and faster production of various type of missiles. But before I come to that, let me make one point about what we saw in the Israel-Iran war recently. Now, Israel is a very small country and it has that Iron Dome system. Now, you see, it didn't work very well. And in any case, interception cannot be 100% at all. So, the point to make is that Israel, with all its capabilities and all the capabilities provided by America in the Iron Dome, if that was not impregnable, I mean, you can well imagine a country like India, which is a subcontinental sized country, how can it have an impregnable and a credible ballistic missile defense system covering the entire airspace? But that besides, as I said, Pakistan will not take its chances. So, what I expect, many things will happen now after the announcement of the Prime Minister. One, we heard that the Prime Minister of Pakistan, on the eve of the Independence Day speech, announced the raising of a new Army Rocket Force Command for the Pakistan Army. And where I said, because it has been now taken, it's on the pattern of the PLA Rocket Force, it is almost a certainty that it will have under it both the conventional missiles and the nuclear missiles, the vectors. They will be there. So this will become a priority now for Pakistan, raising this fast. This cannot be a slow process. Next, certainly now it can be taken for granted, it will happen that China will provide Pakistan with hypersonic cruise missiles. And when we say hypersonic cruise missiles, they are a game changer because of their three key characteristics. One is their high speed. We are talking about high speeds much higher than Mach 5, Mach 20. These are the speeds we are talking of, Mach being the speed of sound. Then we are talking of highly maneuverable missiles. What this means is that till they are very close to the target, it will be very difficult to know for interception as to exactly what target are they intending to hit. And the third is that they operate in near space, implying that the altitude from 20 kilometers to 100 kilometers, beyond which I said space starts, it is in 20 and 100-kilometer bracket, is called near space. And this is where the PLA's hypersonic cruise missiles and hypersonic light vehicles operate. And PLA has given a lot of importance to this near space, so much so that there are even reports that they are planning to have this as a command by itself against their peer competitor, which is the US military. There is no defense against hypersonic missiles in the world. So, the point to make is that these missiles will be provided to Pakistan against this proposed ballistic missile defense system of India. Next, China will help Pakistan in strengthening its integrated air and missile defense system, especially given the fact of all the lessons that they would have learned in Operation Sindoor, and that the geography of Pakistan is elongated with too many high value targets close to the border with India. So there should be no doubt that they will also help Pakistan with their directed energy weapons. Today they have these weapons. The PLA has 100 kilowatts. In fact, some reports say 150 kilowatts solid state laser weapons, and they have high powered microwave weapons which can kill the drones in one sweep. Next, we know that in the world, there were only two nations with a global early warning system for missiles, and they were America and Russia. Russia as the successor state of Soviet Union. And in 2019, reports came that Russia has shared that system, early warning global system, with China because of the close ties, the friendship between President Putin and President Xi. So rest be assured, look, when we are talking of all these capabilities, always never underestimate your enemy, and always in your war appreciation, look at the worst case scenario that will happen. Therefore, be prepared. India should be prepared that much of early warning systems beyond the Bedu system that they already have access to will be provided to the Pakistan military. Next, we saw in Operation Sindoor that the Pakistan military gave a good account of their electronic warfare, advanced electronic warfare, primarily because in April 2020, the PLA helped the Pakistan Air Force set up the Center for Artificial Intelligence. I have no doubts that the next project after electronic warfare of this center will be to have AI in cyber. Why I say that is because in April 2022, when Pakistan unveiled its first national security policy, and they had invited me also to Islamabad, the then Army Chief General Bajwa publicly in his speech said that the Pakistan military will have all the three arms of the military will have their own cyber units and plus a cyber unit for the civil as well. So all that now will be taken to a higher level next. Because what do you do against a ballistic missile defense shield? Then you need more and more ballistic missiles, more missiles. That is the only way to nullify that, the shield. Therefore, Pakistan will certainly go in for more production, indigenous production of these missiles, various kinds, with help from China. That means more production lines, more warehouses. They will be opened up, and when you have more production lines and more missiles, certainly you should be looking at more fissile material stocks of Pakistan. All this will be happening. Now, the point is, what should India have done? Was it necessary to make an announcement like this, which is technically very, very difficult? Instead, what if India had taken the other option, which is the correct option, and that was to have a layered air defense? That was the right option. And when we talk of a layered air defense, we know that already after the successful performance of S-400, India has approached Russia to get more units of this system. So why not get the Russian help only in having a layered air defense system? S-400 is a long-range air defense system. Medium-range air defense system of Russia is Buk, and S-350. Then the short range is what they call Tor and Pansir. All this can be networked by them and integrated with our indigenous Akash, AWACS, all type of radars can be there. And looking at the vulnerable areas and vulnerable points, for example, vulnerable area is a zone, everything could have been networked. And then you could have had a command post here in different vulnerable areas. And then a central command post, which is the general purpose command post, which rounds up and connects everything. And then India could have also asked the Russians to help us with the global early warning system. And surely President Putin would have considered that. So the point I'm making is, and this is all something that the Americans will not give us, be sure about that. So the point I'm making is very simple. By this announcement, which in my assessment was unnecessary at this stage, the threshold of war between India and Pakistan, we are aware of what the new normal is, that has still come to a more dangerous level. It has come down. Thank you so much.